All right, folks, welcome on back here this Tuesday, July 6th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back, of course, for our afternoon meeting. I had hosted the morning meeting. Fausto was out earlier, and I think he is out tomorrow also. He was taking a small trip out with family. He'll be back on Thursday. But great to see all of us live inside the Cyber Group room, and, of course, for all of us in social media, Facebook Live and YouTube. Let's hop right into it. So, the BSQR trade was looking great going into like 2 o'clock. It was looking great going into more even like 2:15. It was pushing up to, break a new high of the day. It was testing and popping over 750. The false pop here at first was to be expected. In fact, actually, there was a huge iceberg order. I forgot the size of it for my level 4, but, let's just say like anywhere between 50 to 100K. All I see is like dark red line going across my level 4 program. I don't have the chance to show it right now for all of us on the stream, but, that was a big level. And in fact, going into the afternoon, the stock I was doing pretty well on, but then I just gave back some profits. So it ended up kind of filling me on a trade right off of 730 here at first. Then it stopped me out. All right, well, no problem. I don't mind, jumping in once, getting stopped out. It's a big level. So it ended up pushing right back up. I didn't look elsewhere. I jumped right back in on the same trade, right from the same level. I was expecting the breakout. Oh, I said to you folks live inside the trading room, I said looking for BSQR to break HOD. What do you think that means? I'm in the trade. So, I'm not going to call it out for nothing. I'm in this trade right from the level we were calling out from 730. Ended up, unfortunately, failing to break that HOD. It held right under the next big resistance off of 750, that is. And I ended up wasting that profit. I ended up taking a 2-cent hit. I call it a break-even trade or scratch trade more so. But, hey, it started to give some back there. And, for what it's worth now, I guess pushing back up towards that same 730 level, I'll check back in with this stock at the end of this meeting. I wouldn't mind adding it on our list. I'm not fully convinced yet, though. Very volatile. So if it ends up moving all the way back up during this meeting, I'm sure that you folks will let me know otherwise. But, we'll come back to it at the end. All right. So a couple of chats, though, just beforehand from Rich. He was saying the XELA trade. Let's take a look on that one. Jeez. Yeah, I was wasting my time, looks like there, Rich, right? Damn. This XELA trade, this thing ended up running right over 2 for a quick 40-cent move. No big deal. Jeez, ended up running up very swiftly. You would expect for it to pull back down now. In fact, let me get the volume bars here. We were talking about this in our workshop earlier. I was going to say webinar. Our workshop earlier, Traders Talk. Well, for the meantime, a lot of volume traded off the top here. I'm not looking at that as much. That's resistance here in the meantime, but as low as 208, I would say more so like 219, 220 on a pullback. That could be a really big, dip point heading into the afternoon. So easily enough, we would have ran into this trade anyways. We went from the gainers to losers list in just a bit. But the XELA trade, definitely familiar name too. We traded the stock like a week ago, less than a week ago, perhaps even. Did pretty well on it. All right, so otherwise, though, and I'm going to show Bitcoin at the end. Don't worry for any of the crypto people out there on the social media streams, that tend to, follow me on Bitcoin. I said I was going to show that in the afternoon. We'll get to that at the end. But we ended up doing pretty well across the board, though. Really from the morning watch list that we had, we did pretty decent. And what I mean by that is even on some of the stocks that didn't make the big move that we were hoping for them to make, we recognized it. We knew what was going to happen. So we didn't get really misled on some stocks. Actually, I'll begin with one of those. We talked about it in our Traders Talk workshop. The OCGN trade. This was one of my better trades across the more afternoon. It took a long time. But stock ended up providing me an opportunity at first off of 8. I ended up wasting that trade. Great entry. It allowed for a great, profit for about 12 to 15 cents, if not maybe a penny or two more. But, unfortunately, I wanted more. My greed got in the way and dropped whatever. Now, nonetheless, though, there was never really a good buying opportunity on that stock until $7.50, until $7.50. And, I'd called that out in the trading room. It broke below $7.50, broke above $7.50. It was like the slowest slingshot of all time, but ended up beginning to make its move, a bit later on. This looks fast, but I ended up jumping in initially here. So it took me nearly 40, 45 minutes for that to, come to fruition. But yeah, even this, it wasn't the best play on the morning, but just goes to show it gave us some good opportunity, right? Now, to those that did well, at least the BLIN stock, and this doesn't look like it did too hot, but we talked about this also in our Traders Talk workshop. So based on the level that I was calling out from pre-market, 1210, 1217. I copied and pasted my chart in Traders Talk for all of us, at least live there. It's in the chat board. It should be in there if you scroll all the way up. If you're there, you'll see the picture of the chart. I mean, it's practically these levels, but I drew this during the workshop, and it went to show that hey, off the first attempt of this, testing as support, held perfect, ended up providing a really good bounce opportunity. Not the prettiest trade, but based on the technique, based on following the order flow, and certainly more from pre-market, anticipating such a big break above a level, where is it going to bounce from? Not when, but where. So you focus on whole numbers, but otherwise, from where the big volume is being traded, very very similar to what we were talking about on OCGN. For this one here, hey, once it ended up kind of snapping back down towards 1210, 1217, led to a great trade. And then even here, heading into the early afternoon, I got tricked on this. I ended up jumping in and out here off at 12. I took like a break-even trade, practically like -2 or -3. But right place, wrong time. Ended up making the big pop here. I stepped away from my desk for a little bit, so by the time I came back, it was already at like 1250. I felt as if I was going to chase it. The reason I bring it up is because one of our students, Felix, ended up getting like 68, 70 cents on the trade. I forgot what he had posted. He was in from right around 1230, so ended up paying off really nicely for him. Spiked up way more than I thought it was going to move up to when I first got in my trade there. But for right now, came back down. The danger on stocks like this, we talked about it. The stock's pulling back down pretty quickly at this rate heading into the afternoon. It wouldn't shock me to see break lower and fill the gap lower in the after hours. That's all. Let's leave that unopened. There we go. All right. So for right now, BLIN, decent trade from earlier this morning, and even here going into the mid-afternoon off the break through this level. But at this point now, I'm not really too convinced of another run up. All right. So listen, we covered BSQR. That's already number 3 on the gainers list. What we'll do is go from top to bottom. We have I guess a warrant here at the top. I'm kind of going to skip over that to begin. Rarely trade warrants, so unless it looks stellar, you folks let me know otherwise. I'm just going to be pressed for time, but move forward. So the OSAT, hopefully not too pressed for time, banging my elbow. OSAT ended up making a nice push, more so leading into the open pre-market. And then, like, as soon as the market opened up off of that pop, ended up making a slingshot from 8, right? And then ended up breaking higher suddenly. I wasn't really there for that, but, if you were there to catch it off the break from 9 or maybe what appears to be like 9, 10-ish, that paid off pretty nicely. But for right now, it looks pretty choppy. I mean, I'll come back to this trade at the end, just like kind of like the other one, the BSQR. And I guess number 3, we'll just check in with it right now. Ah, man, this thing pulled back over 7, ended up slipping back down. I mean, it bounced off a 7 pretty nicely here, but I don't know. It's got to make a nice convincing move back up. So far, holding over 7 is good, but lower highs comes lower lows. We know that. So, sooner is better than later here on this trade. All right, we keep it going. PBTS number 4. This one I know Rich called out earlier, more so heading into the early afternoon, breaking out over 250, breaking out over 3 on the re-break here later on, and really nice run. I mean, one of us said that they were in the trade from a much lower price, and they were holding on for a little bit. I mean, what they had said made sense. At the time, they said there wasn't really any sign. In as many words, they said there wasn't really any reason to sell. It was just all buying, right? And I agreed, like, yeah, definitely. But what I told them was focus on 50-cent levels and whole numbers. So I think that was like even over here when it ended up already like popping and dropping, moving around 350. And unfortunately, this thing ended up coming right back down over 50 cents lower, broke below, almost $1 lower. Look at that, down to 260 and bounced from there. Jeez. So definitely volatile. Definitely a good stock to keep in mind across this week. Good side list stock, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back to it at the end. So far, the only one I really like is the XCLA, and we didn't really even get to that on the gainer side. We kind of jumped ahead to that, but This PBTS, we'll check back in at the end. We'll kind of do like a cherry pick kind of. All right, BLIN. This one we know we're not really going to follow as much. This one I didn't even put on the side. XCLA we skip over. We'll kind of skim through right now, see some other stocks that are on the gainers side here so far. Familiar names perhaps. I don't think I'm going to add it. Just going to check in with it. The MRIN trade, just so choppy. Order book is so thin. All right. Remember I said sooner's better than later on BSQR? Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Right back over 730. I'm not going to be a jerk and try and jump in this trade during the meeting. As soon as we finish this meeting up, which I'll try and go quicker on now, but I'm going to try and certainly, catch this trade into the afternoon. We'll promote this now at this point. We'll put this on our main list, BSQR. Let's see if it could hold over 730 and get going over 750 there. Let's see. Geez, talk about traders' dyslexia here. You have BSQR, then SQBG. This one, thankfully, we're not going to watch, but geez, tongue twister day. SFET. This one's been creeping up across the more like early afternoon and since. It's almost like too slow. Order book's not too filled in, at least. You have a big order on the bid, 87,000 shares roughly on the bid at 150. I don't know. I'm going to pass for right now. Some other familiar names, CCXI from pre-market. I didn't really put this on our main list at the time. I said it had a good range. The MMAT trade, formerly Torchlight TRCH, that stock over the last month, you can see based on the pattern here, practically the same stock, ended up running up, came all the way back down. Over the last week, they all but did a merger with another company, Meta Materials. So, we're following this now. It's up 7%, ended up making the pop more so after the market opened up. Good trade, good runner, keeps as a good side list stock. That's all. All right, Jinko Solar at the end. I just see it at the bottom. I'm just going to check in. Expensive stock. I knew that going into it. More of a swing trade perhaps. Fausto tends to follow this every now and then. It's nice to see at the highs. Just very thin volume on the order book and very light volume traded per minute so far across the afternoon. All right, got it. Chat here from YouTube, and I learned my lesson this morning. I went to YouTube a little late. I always go to YouTube at the end. I go to our folks here inside Cyber Group first, then from there YouTube. But I'm going to jump to YouTube first. I got from our guy Mitch Connor talking about SRNE, big pop. Wow, yeah, that's a stock I am pretty familiar with, as are a lot of us inside Cyber Group. Call this out a lot off of news. Let me just jump to Benzinga Pro really quick. I do that quick water break myself. All right, so apparently the FDA clears SRNE's phase 2 trial of non-opioid product candidate, blah, 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 for treatment of knee pain in osteoarthritis patients. Interesting. Mitch thought he deleted his comment. I see everything, Mitch. All right, so with that in mind, no, I'm just kidding. But for the meantime, SRNE, I mean, hey, popped off of news. It is shortable, so if it ends up completely dumping off, I reckon there's an opportunity there. But we'll follow it more on the way up. We'll put this on our watch list for right now. I don't mind. We're not really at a excess of stocks on our list. All right, and then also Norman from the trading room, just checking, the chat there. He had called out the pop just about 5 minutes ago, so I'll give him credit there right away. All right, cool. All right, let's hop over to the loser side. Then I'll just check back in. I'll go over my Bitcoin chart here at the end. Not a whole lot really happened. Up and down it went inside the same channel. But I'll talk about what could be ahead. I'm thinking there could be a bit of a drop on Bitcoin throughout this week, and perhaps even after, or after the week is over, we'll see a drop. We'll see. I'm not going to time it, but I think there could be a bit of a drop coming on Bitcoin. I'll explain why. DD, how flat is this? I mean, we're going to stay away from this stock certainly for the afternoon. Keep it in mind for pre-market, but if it ends up acting as choppy as this has been, I mean, it's pretty similar to Wish, just, really high float. We don't want to trade a stock that's too low float, but you don't want to trade a stock that's always, really high float, because it's going to take a lot to move the stock. And although the stock doesn't have like too filled in of an order book, I mean, it is, but we've seen stocks like, for example, I got a little time here. I always love to show this in class. I mean, you look at Siri. Look at the order book on Siri. 94,000 on the ask, 48,000 after 27, and so on and so forth. All right. Well, for DD, it doesn't look like that, but for a stock that has such a high float, and you'd think, bad news is on it, don't buy it. Well, look what happened off at 12. Made for a great day trade opportunity once it really broke above 12 here. Good for at least 50 cents. Keep the good times rolling here. TIGR, I didn't really put on our main list as much, did I? Said at the end, like that was the last one I was looking at. Maybe, maybe not. And I chose not. Dropped off after the market opened up, made the bounce after. Thin order book. So, perhaps we'll keep it in mind for tomorrow, for as much as it's been dropping, not only from seemingly this morning in pre-market, but let alone the last couple of days at the end of the last week. That probably is due for a bounce. 20 would be a big level to watch going forward for this week. Food for thought. That's all. I mean, just like Clove at 10. It's not like a swing trader investment opportunity, but if you're looking for a quick play, 10's major support for as much as Clove's been dropping. This was the easiest 9 cents of my life. Not the biggest trade of the world for me, but it was just on 1,000 shares. But just to get in and out from 10, just relatively simple. That was just my thought process on that. So for Tiger, I'm referring to, perhaps later on this week, it's a ways away from 20. It's at 21.50 right now, but that could be due for a bounce at some point. Keep it in mind. ASTR, what goes up comes right back down. I don't know. I don't really see many other familiar names here. Anything that's really making me jump out my seat as far as like a stock that's down big on the loser side. All right, we'll check out the chat board, then we'll jump to Bitcoin, then we'll wrap it up. So I got nothing else on YouTube, so I'm good to go there, at least for the meantime. From Norman Fay, he's asking about, not a whole lot really happening there. Don't need to put it on our list. Check back in on stocks I kind of put on the side for the meantime, like the OSAT trade. The BSQR, I guess, proved itself a little bit there, squeezing up the time, so that's on our main list. PBTS could still be in play. How much more could it move up is the question. I mean, 3 is going to be a big level. Looks like 315-ish just from the chart. Looks to be pretty big. So given the range this stock has had today, up and then down, and it's already been bouncing since 2:30. So, hey, if you liked it as I went through during the meeting and caught it, nice trade. You're doing better than some of us right now looking at it, not in the trade. But I don't know. Where's it going to top off at? That's the question. So I'll add it to our list. We only have 3 stocks on there so far. Doesn't hurt. All right, let me pull up the Binance chart really quickly, Bitcoin that is, and then we'll wrap it up. That BSQR is pushing up nicely up towards 740, 745 iceberg, then 750. All right, so for Bitcoin, this is where we left off. Now, this is what I'm going to do, like when I catch back up with you folks on Mondays. So this is practically where we left off on Bitcoin. So from the afternoon meeting back from Friday, it ended up making a bit of a move up. Now, I like to show a few charts here, looking at the hourly, the 6-hour chart. Maybe I'll jump to, but otherwise the daily and then weekly. But and weekly if need be. But really we've just been in a channel the last like 2 weeks here, right? Up and down roughly. So it seems like it's making lower highs, and with lower highs, we would expect a lower low. So, that's always in play naturally. And that is true. I mean, even if you're not following, Bitcoin or familiar with it, I mean, those patterns are extremely, true, or at least, you see them all the time on crypto, as frequent as you would an equity, a stock. But it's more than just that, though. So what I show on the hourly chart, I have the 500 EMA in yellow, or in orange. Sorry. So it's been having a real tough time trying to break over that 500 EMA again. I mean, most recently, first tried doing it here. I mean, it popped it, but for as much as it dropped off from it, just like any other, horizontal level, you'd expect that to hold as resistance at first. So, seeing this pull back, that was expected. I called that out right away when we saw that at the time. But the thing is that we're seeing it begin to kind of peek its head again. What's going to happen here coming up? One of two things. I mean, obviously, it's going to either break it and fly, make a temporary run up, perhaps, over like towards 45,000. I'll look back at the daily chart in just a moment. Or otherwise, we continue to see it slump off, drop back down, and perhaps retest 30,000. So with that, it's just to say you would expect Riot and Mara and Cannon, all those Bitcoin mining affiliated stocks to go with it. But just on the crypto side, let me just jump to the daily chart here quick. And I'm going to delete this line here really fast. Don't mind me. So again, we've been in this range really for the last like 2 weeks, let alone if not more. So at this point, if this ends up breaking the 500 EMA on the hourly chart, I didn't even get the price on that, but the orange line I was teasing just before on the last example or last chart, I would expect this to make a further run up, perhaps up towards the 200 EMA in yellow or the 100 in green. So that could be up as much as around 41, 42. We'll see what happens across this week. It's not going to be an overnight story, unless if news comes out, that is. We're, of course, always an Elon tweet away from this dropping off again. Any sort of China restriction-type news that comes out on Bitcoin. I mean, hey, we saw it happen on Didi from Friday afternoon, right? Literally, China government ended up blocking that from being listed on app stores. So, they've, of course, been playing around with Bitcoin and coming out with news to block mining and banks from allowing Bitcoin as custody. So we'll see. And anything like that can, of course, create that drop off. Any sort of good news with companies incorporating Bitcoin as treasury for the company itself, then you're going to expect to see the stock pop like it did a few months ago when Elon did with Tesla. I think that we're kind of overdue for that too. So I'm going to lean more towards the latter on that. But alas, here we are now. At least, we're going to finish up the afternoon meeting, folks. So in all the time I was flapping my gums on crypto, I'll re-ask if there's anything up, down, left, right, more than 5% you would want me to look at or check out. Check back in one last time on that OSAT trade. Actually, before I even went into Bitcoin there, I saw Felix make a chat on an iceberg. So he was calling out an order at 989. I don't know if it got filled. Maybe 990, probably, iceberg. It hasn't tested it yet, it seems like, Felix. If you happen to see a level, it seems to be holding well under that, let alone 10. I'm going to keep this on the side for right now. I'm not really as interested yet. Seems to be like coiling up. So, if it ends up popping, be honest, you'll probably be the first to call it out. But, if not you, then I will be. So one of us will catch it, and we'll work together as a team and see if we'll be able to capitalize. But if it's not this, then otherwise, I like the list to begin with. The XCLA, the BSQR, the SRNE, even if that dumps off, that could be a good short. And then the PBTS, finally, from there. All right. All right, so that about wraps it up, folks. For all of us on social media, I appreciate you sticking with me each and every afternoon. If you were tuning in to me earlier in the morning, I appreciate you sticking with me from there as well. Again, Fausto will be back in the mornings, I believe, on Thursday. He might be back tomorrow. I just don't want to don't hold me to that. But otherwise, either way, I look forward to speaking with you folks at least tomorrow. Make sure to like, subscribe, notify right on our YouTube channel, that being youtube.com/cybertradingyou. Otherwise, if you've yet to join our live trading room, if you're interested in listening to more of our commentary heading into this afternoon or going forward, you can go right down to the link on the banner below just at the stream just to get yourself started. All right. For all of us there right now, give me a quick couple of minutes. I'm going to copy and tweet the picks. I'm going to refill up my water bottle. It's been a lot of talking, like I was expecting it to be, at least from this morning. But nonetheless, I'll be back on the mic, folks, right around 3:30. I think Rich will jump on pretty shortly from now. I'll talk to you soon.